Wow. Not sure if it was the Skype, so now the Skype is closed. And let me put myself in the waiting list. Wow, that was strange. I hope now it works better. And my browser went down. Wow. You never know what's going to happen when you start to play PLO. And tracker isn't working. Oh my god. And I just restarted my computer so I wouldn't have any problems. Oh, now it found one table. It's just a small one. And here we flop a double cut shot and a nut flush draw. And Ricky's kind of player. Let's call. Oh, now Poker Tracker went down. Oh, I'm so sure that we have to restart. Because every software just crashes. And he had, yeah, 2 pairs. We were in a pretty nice shape on the flop. Oh dear, never had this kind of start. But now I can't get my HUD to work. It imports the hands, but HUD isn't starting. I'm just going to call with King 5-5. Let's see if we can get up some other players to the pot to get more value if we hit the set. Okay, I need to restart my Poker Tracker. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. We hit the set on the river, but it flushes the board. Completes even 7-8, so kind of nasty, but now he pots it. Looks really flushy. Let's try to start Poker Tracker. At least softwares are working, so we can play poker. Wow. I don't have an idea why computers crash like they're my web browser, Skype, PokerLoco, all of those three crashed at the same time, and then soon after that, Poker Tracker crashed. I have no idea what causes that kind of crash. It happens like once a month, that everything just crashes down, and I have to restart, and then everything works. I have no idea why that happens. But the stream is working, so the only software that didn't crash was the streaming software, yet. So after that start, now what we have on the tables is there are a lot of familiar players. I actually played 2 sessions yesterday and today, so some of these are quite familiar, and they probably, I had the same nickname, so they probably have an idea of me. And those 2 sessions I played very aggressively, a bit more aggressively as normal, so we should have a nice image versus not to me, Nulla. There was this aggressive player, but now he left the tables. But the stream is working, so if there's some problems with the stream, the quality, or it becomes quite bad or freezes or something, just let me know. And now, oh dear, PokerLoco started to make duplicates. It's going to make around 5,000 duplicates because I haven't cleared the, I don't know what the name is, but removed the processed and used hands from microgaming database, so it's going to make a lot of duplicates. So we won't have a HUD until a few minutes. And now, why are the tables dying? There are a lot of full tables, but table 3 is just dying. Let's call on the button on table 2. Try to fit these tables in here. And we hit middle pair and weak is flush draw. Now we have 2 pairs and weak is flush draw. And someone raises. And this raise should be a straight. And now when this Finnish player here calls that raise, he either has a higher flush draw a lot of times, or he has some kind of set which is blocking our outs probably. So we might be drawing dead here, depending what this guy has. So it's a fold. Again, 7-8 we have equity, but when this guy calls, it kills probably either one of our draws. And what should happen is that these 2 fold, because they shouldn't have 7-8. But you never know. Oh, it happened. We have PokerLoco's chat working, and we have the Twitch chat working, so feel free to use either one. Table 1 we flop top pair and double cut shot. And this greeny player calls the flop and then bets the river. Now we don't have the heart. Not sure if he bluffs his missed draws, but often he has better ace or 10 when he bets the river. Well, ace he shouldn't bet, but he might have a 10. He might have some kind of missed flush draw, flush cut shot or something, and when we check the turn, he can bluff it. But if we had a heart and we had some information on his river tendencies, we might make a hero call, but here I won't. On table 1, the thing is that if he has a jack 9, then it doesn't matter what we do. But if he has a set, we have to bet the value. And he actually has a king jack, which sucks. So he had a top pair and open ender. I don't think he's going to bet just bare open ender there. So most of the time he has a jack 9. And we are heartless for still a few minutes. Double cut shot and flush draw. We make the nuts on the turn with the redraws. Nice. And we have nuts on the river. So let's see, and we get some value. Whee! Table 4, it's 3-bet button open. And top pair double cut shot. And now on the turn, I can just pot. Get him for whatever he has a lot of equity versus us when our real hand is just an ace. So we can maximize the foreign equity. Here he shoves. We have the open ender. And we have to pay, we need 30% equity. So I'm going to get it in. If he has just random 6, we are in decent shape. Let's see if we can hold up, and we can. I estimate we have the 30% equity against that 6, but no idea what kind of player he is. So if he has any semi-bluffs in his range, then we definitely have equity. But now we don't have the HUD, so I have to check it later. That's why HUD is so nice. Even if you just know the VPIP and pre-flop raise, you can still see what kind of player you are facing, because there are 4 types of opponents in PLO or in any poker. So if you can categorize. Here is quite interesting, because if he has a straight, then we don't have the equity. But if he has 2 pairs or even a set, then we have equity. And he didn't raise the flop, so I think that his range is more than just because 5-7 is straight on the flop already. And he has 3 pairs. Not sure if we have equity versus 3 pairs, but we run hot. Whee! Can't complain. Remind me later that at the end of the session, if I forgot to do it earlier, we check those 2 hands in the beginning if we actually had the equity to stack off. Because the opponent pretty much, in both cases, they have the hand that they are representing. Oh, here we have a flush draw and a cut shot versus assumed ace or aces. It's actually a situation, if he has a set, we don't have the equity to stack off. Because if we made all of his stack as implied, then we have enough implied, but he has 25% equity on the turn. So we only get a portion of that. Oh, it's so close, but I think it's fold. Here he bets pot again. And we have a double cut shot and a flush draw, which is close to 35% or so. So I'm going to call. Now we had only to show that was something else. What he had. Now the heart is just killing me. Ooh. Interesting check back on table 1 from Tideway. And now he pots it. So strange. But what we can only beat pure bluffs, which is some kind of really small cards or rundowns, and even those rundowns have a lot of equity. We have the flush draw. If he bet like half pot, we can call, but for a full pot, we have 2 jacks, 2 tens, and most likely 9 flush cards. So it's 13, 30%. It's so close. So close. But when he checks the flop, oh, he's so aggressive. Yeah, against that one should have called. So close. I think raise on table 2, that looks so bluffy that min bet. And the bottom table, Phineas Larsson had aces, didn't shove pre-flop. quite strange. Waited for the flop and then stack off with the worst equity and doubled up. At table 2 we have the trips with the wrap, one street of value. Half a pot bet, we have the cut shot and backdoor. Backdoor, but not enough. Table 2 we have the nuts. On the turn we have the nuts. On the river we don't have the nuts. But we have a thin blocker. So now the question is what kind of hands he draws the flop and turn that gives us value on the river. I think we can make a small value bet against 2 pairs. Or some small played smaller sets. Open ender, bottom pair. Let's see what the button does. And he just checks, so now no one should have a really strong hand. So let's start betting. And he calls, and river kind of sucks. Because in his turn calling range he has a flush draws. But then again he has a ton of straight draws. He might have just overpairs. So we should have enough folding equity, and we do. On table 3 we make the nuts on the turn. We redraw the full house and the flush, so we have everything. And on the river, it's really hard to take value unless he makes a really big mistake on the river. So I'm just going to put it, and wow, that's why we put the river. Because the only way to get value is that he makes a really bad call on the river, and if he's going to make a really bad call on the river, it doesn't matter how much we bet, so he snap calls with ace, king, 5. 3 pairs. Solid. And on table 2, it's probably aces versus aces. So no, it's aces versus ace, king, jack, 10, and he flops the straight. And we turn the full house. That was odd. One of those situations that unless he has a read that I'm capable of 5 bets, something else than aces, then even with this strong draw rundown, he should just call and see the flop. If the flop is 5-5-5, then he can fold that ace high rundown. I cannot fold any flop, so if he can fold even one flop, it's good for him. And he can definitely fold all the flops that totally miss his hand. And here on the river, I'm going to check call. I don't think he's value betting ace jack or ace 6. So the only hand that beats us is some backdoor straight. And he checks. Come on, hard. what you had. And he had Jack 8, 9. What was the board? So he had just a pair of jacks. So he called the flop with the jack. Well, not sure if the chats are working. Half an hour to the coaching and no one has said anything after the wrist range beginning. So I have to test. It's so quiet. No one says anything. I'm trying to sort of isolate the limper, but everyone calls. I love this. Guy's nickname is Bingo Man, playing 13 BP or 20 BP short stack and 50 and 0 stats. So, oh, that irony. Definitely a Bingo Man. On the turn we have the queen and open ender, and now tidal wave pots. And we have to fold. No one called. So at least Twitch chat is working. Not to me is really tight one. Let's give him the red color, and Bingo Man is a green. Ace, Jack, 9, 5. Let's see the flop. Yeah, it's working, but no one is following. So I'm here all by myself. At least Pullakahvi Pro is on the Twitch chat saying it's working. So come on, guys, everyone is just watching. Why not try to be active? Don't be a passive listener. Say something, comment us about something. Like on table 2 with ace 5, is this a value bet or is this a check back? What would you think? It's easy to watch this PLO session, but well, if you are just watching, you don't learn that much. But now if you think, what would you do here on the river? Should you bet or should you check? And now when you think, what would you do before I do, then if I do something different, then we have a discussion. I decide to value bet. And he has, what? He has the nuts. And just check calls. Oh. So he had weak ace. He picks up 2 pairs and has the nuts on the river and decides to check call. Wow. A reason why I value bet it is that if he bets the turn with ace jack type of hand, I would assume he bets smallish on the river. But he might have ace 3, he might have, ace 10 on the flop. he might have 10-7 type of hand, ace-king type of hand. So I think that in his calling range he has over 50% of worse hands than better hands, which means we can value bet. But the sizing has to be smallish. But he had the nuts. Didn't see that one coming, especially when he just called. I'm going to make a note. So now we can be pretty sure that if he is aggressive on the river, he probably has a damn strong hand, or if he raises on the flop or turn. I've thought about this many times. This stream is totally free, and it's actually one of the rare, really free ways to earn PLO. There's a lot of PLO streams on the Twitch and I don't know in some other software, but most of them is just someone playing music and being hyperactive. I'm not sure how much they actually explain their thinking process or comment about questions or want to create strategical, how do you pronounce that? Strategical discussion about strategy. So in this stream, I'm more than happy to discuss about playing strategies or different lines, different options. I do make a lot of mistakes in these streams. Last week we check called with the nuts like this guy here, so I know how it feels. But the thing is that on these PokerLoco streams, you have the chance to discuss about the auto free. Think what would you do, like here, complete or raise before I do, and when I do my decision, if you would have done otherwise, then you should be typing on your keyboard. Table 3, Queen Jack 9-7, why don't you call? And then I can explain more in depth about my thinking process, why I decided to fold instead of calling. Ooh, I have a hiccup. And then we have a discussion. And it might be that after that discussion, either one or both of us are better players. There might be something that you haven't thought about. There's something that I haven't thought about. It might have been a mistake. Who knows? I don't claim to be a perfect player, so you can always doubt my decisions. And that's way how you can become a better player. Or you can use the option B, sit back, eat potato chips, drink beer, and watch and have fun. But you don't learn PLO by that. You can watch these streams all the way until 2080, and you won't become a better player by watching them. Maybe a little, but not much. And if some of you is thinking that, oh, my English is so bad that I can't comment, but yes, you can. If English is a problem, type in Finnish and I will translate it, or you can type it in whatever language you like. I can use Google Translator. Or you can draw paper and send a picture of that to me. Whatever works for you. And maybe if you create discussion, everyone else learns a bit, as then we have a discussion about decision making, different lines, different options. I'm going to open another table in here. So we will have 5 tables, a little bit more action if something happens on those tables. Here on table 1, I'm going to raise a bit. Either one of them should have a straight. Then bet sizing doesn't look like 5-4 and just call, definitely not 5-4. And we have the cut shot, and we can barrel pretty much all the cards over 7. And we win the pot right away. Whee! We almost had Eastern dancer on the stream, but at the last minute she chickened out. Maybe we will have her in next Friday for the Finnish stream. The idea is that she was supposed to dance every time when I win the pot, so that would be a lot of dancing. Fred the Crusher registered for a couple of MVPs 3 hours ago. Well, if it was 3 hours ago and you're still playing, then it's good for you. Here on the outside table, we have aces. We get the money in probably pre-flop. Or on the flop. On this, where it is. On this flop, we get it in. Let's see if he calls with the jack. Oh, he's from Finland. And thinking. Not sure why he thinks. It should be clear that I have aces, so that shouldn't be a decision. And he folds. But we won a nice pot. Whee! Howdy says that I can't comment my English is bad. Is this good? That is very good. Now go on and make a discussion. And remember, I love discussion, whatever it is. You can talk about NFL, NHL, Finnish, Russian hockey, whatever you feel. Or you can tell me what is the hardest in PLO for you. What do you find is the hardest spots, or what is hard while playing? So we can discuss about that. Ambitions, as I have seen you playing on PokerStars, what are the results? I am up on PokerStars. Mostly I have played some PLO 25 Zoom and then PLO 10 normal tables or Zoom. And I've run pretty hot. But I can't remember how much, and the total hand or sample size, or it's not the sample size, the total hands that I have played is probably 2,000 or 3,000. Do we have a straight here? No, but Bingo Man bet 60 cents. So tempts to bluff him, but he's a Bingo Man. We can't bluff Bingo Man. Yeah, the total hand number is around 2,000 or 3,000 probably. So I can check it. here. Or do I just remember wrong? Not sure. Might be. Because I have had some really sick winning sessions, but I also, about 279 up, and EV is 250. 13,000 hands, wow, that much. Average all-in adjusted win rate is 10 BBs per 100 hands, so it's pretty standardish. The sick part is that I won $270 and I paid $300 as rake. I'm going to value bet my full house here because this opponent was kind of player that can slow play even straight on the turn. We've seen him slow play the nuts on the river, or he can call with trips or whatever, so definitely value bet with full house. I think that at micros, 10 BBs per 100 hand win rate before the rake back is quite good win rate. Because the rate is so insanely high. Demo 4, no one should have a jack. And we win the pot right away. Didn't even have to barrel the river. On the outside table, blind versus blind, he 3-bet, we call, hit the trips, he makes a really small c-bet and then folds to a raise. Kind of shame. Now you probably didn't see anything from that, but kind of shame he folded. I thought that smallish c-bet is to induce something, but it was just a fold. Well, now we change the table, let's put this one back here and this outside table to outside where it belongs. Here are demo 2. Where are all my tables? Here on demo 2, when we have the huge coin station on the table 3-handed, we cannot open any trashy hands. We need a strong hand to play. And here I will bet as a semi-bluff. And once he calls, I'm not going to barrel the turn. Don't bluff calling stations more than once, and you can have the pot. I don't mind. On the outside table, we triple barreled Finnish player, or on the flop we had flop was king queen something, and we had ace queen jack 10, so we had a middle pair and wrap, and we bet the flop. He called. Turn was blank-ish. We bet he called, and river was blank-ish, complete backdoor straight draw, and he checked and we bet, and he just folded, which is nice. Now here we have top 2. I'm just going to raise it, and let's get it in. Let's see what he had. What? So he insta re-raised for pot and just folded. That was really interesting. I posted on my Finnish blog a strange hand. It was yesterday or day before that, I think, or was it tomorrow? I can't remember. It was so strange hand. Opponent raised me, like he bet, I raised with the nuts, he re-raised me, and I shoved. Pot was around, I can't remember what, it was like 200 BBs, and he had like 5 or 6 BBs behind. And he folded, which is strange, because whatever he had, he should have an equity versus my nuts. Like he needs 4% there or something. And it wasn't a disconnection. He waited and the timer went on, and then probably at the halfway through the timer, he just folded. Of course, it might be a disconnection, or he was just too lazy and he was used his time bank or something, but it really looked like he just thought and decided to fold, which is super strange. Here, not to me opens, I'm in 3 bets, which really looks like aces, but we are in position and it's going to be 3-way, so I called with double suited kings, but now I have to fold. What is the date? Ambition asked on the tweets, what is the rate difference between Unibet and PokerStars? I have no idea what the Unibet is. I mean, what the rate at Unibet is, because it doesn't save the hand history, so I have no idea. So I don't know. But between, like, here on microgaming, the rate is capped. And pretty much it's around 15 BPs per 100. Of course, it always depends if you are winning. On winning sessions, you pay more rate than on the losing sessions. Here I'm not even c-betting versus him. He hasn't floated c-bets ever. So let's hit the top pair and then make the c-bet. So I have no idea how much the rate is at Unibet. And at Unibet there is a rate back, but as far as I remember, you have to rate, what was the number? Was it over 500 or 1,000 a month to get the actual decent rate back? Before that, it's just those small achievements you can, like $1 tickets or $4 tickets for PLO4 and so on. Big pot on the outside table, we flop the set and bet flop and turn, and river completes a straight, but flush draw misses and opponent pots, and I decide to fold. One reason for folding is that he thought for a while before shoving. Often it looks more like value when he thinks like 10 seconds before shoving. Tries to represent that it's a tough decision. Often if he decides to bet his missed flush draw, he's often going to do it more quickly. So on Unibet, you probably get decent rate back if you rate over 1,000 a month. Not sure. There's a PokerMania member Kuba who has played at Unibet. He should know something about that. Nowadays, micro gaming is a decent place to play because PKR merged with it, so there's more players. Wow, Pro War raised. Why doesn't he raise the flop? Why check the flop instead of c-betting if he actually has an ace? Doesn't make sense to me. So, if he doesn't have an ace, he's going to check back. He had ace king. Wow. Strange. Why not bet the flop? Fred the Crusher is asking, do I have any tips for playing PLO5 home game? If you mean live games at home, then it really depends on what kind of players you are playing with. If it's a standard game with recreational players, or how do I say it? I have to think for a while. I played PLO in home games where the other players were mainly Hold'em players. And when you are playing PLO with Hold'em players, it's so profitable. It's just wait for a strong hand and get the value. Because Hold'em players, they often play PLO like Hold'em, but just two starting hands for 4 cards. So they think that 2 pairs is always the nuts. Any flush is the nuts. Any set is the nuts. So you get a lot of value from them. Then if the other players are players that are familiar with PLO rules and have played PLO, then it becomes more interesting because then often the games are really aggressive. On the outside table, we lose 50 BBs to the Finnish regular. He calls the flop and turn with bottom 2 pairs, and when the river pairs, we check call with the top pair, and of course we lose the pot. Oh. But live PLO, basically, in theory, it's the same poker as online. You just don't have the HUD. But the same principles apply. The mathematics are the same. We have to stack off here with the second nuts. Of course, that does he have an ace jack? No, he has jack 7-6. He bluffed the river. Wow. Have to make a note because it doesn't fit his profile. And then it's almost black river. So it wasn't a really great spot to bluff. So the basic things apply. Mathematics is the same, and to make money, you have to make less mistakes than your opponents. So what you need to do is to figure out what kind of mistakes your opponent does and give them chance to do that. So you just adjust to your opponents. Often the biggest problem for players while playing live is to play too much hands. They don't have the discipline to wait. Online you have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 tables running. You can afford all the garbage hand. But when playing live, suddenly pocket threes with 6, 9, people might want to see the flop. Let's see if I can hit the flop and so on. So people play a lot of hands, and when their ranges pre-flop are so wide, they're going to hit the marginal hand, which means that most of your money comes from just dominating your opponent and forcing them to fold if they have a weak hand. Just make sure if they actually are able to fold some weak hands. When not to me calls, I'm a bit worried about aces. So I'm actually going to fold, or deuce. If he had folded, I would have called once this. Although he don't against 4 people, but 7 deuce deuce rainbow is kind of bored that if you want to bluff it, it's a really good one to do. And I'm going to value bet kings versus this guy. I'm going to value bet trips versus this guy. Jan is asking a nice question, how to make good notes. I always think that whatever suits you. I have my own style of making notes because I understand those. Some people like to write sort of hand histories with abbreviations. Some people like to have their own codes for notes, like syntax. Sometimes people might use plus and minuses after the note, like when it's the first time they may see that happen, they make minus minus minus, meaning that it's not reliable yet, but when it happens again they remove 1 minus, and when it happens after 3 minuses they put plus. So if you have 3 pluses after your note, then it's really reliable, or whatever it works. My style is to just write down when opponent does something that is easily exploitable or doesn't fit his player profile. Like if regular does something that is not ordinary, I make a note. Or here we have a read that he's a super calling station that is really passive, doesn't bluff, and now he makes a really bad river bluff. Definitely make a note. Or he just check calls the nuts on the river, so we know that yes, he cancel away the nuts. 10 of diamonds is really bad here. It just hits his. Right, it completes both of the draws. So let's see if we can get the showdown. If he has ace jack type of hand, I'm going to call that one. Oh, he had the straight, yep. Figures. But everyone should be making notes. Or doesn't have to. Don't, if you don't want to win money, don't make notes. But making notes is just pure money. Like if you make a note, it takes 2 seconds or 3 seconds, depending how fast you type. And with that 1 3 second, or let's say it's a massive 5 seconds. So spending 5 seconds can actually mean huge value for you. If the note helps you define your opponent range better, and you can make a lot of good turn river decisions that can be 100 pp profit for the note itself. So spending 5 seconds and making a lot of money is sort of bargain that you cannot just miss. Here we call and someone check raises this flop, and we have only weak ace and some backdoors. This half a pot bet I would have called to see the turn if we can pick up something, but now when there's a raise, it's a clear fold. Often people are slaves to their habits. Like if someone has a habit or tendency to bluff missed flush draw on the river, if you check to them, if you make a note, they are going to do it quite often. I'm going to open here. Previously he has folded once, now he has done it 2 out of 2 times. So at least he is not defending his big blind with 100% range. Or most likely not even with the wide range. I'm going to bet here because I would assume that UV is going to bet if he has ace. And if he has king shot queens, we have huge folding equity. We also had the cut shot. And he folded, which is nice. And one tip for live home games is to if you play more of those, like once a week, then at least I would put a lot of effort to learning about live game tells, both verbal and non-verbal. Because there's so much information that recreationals and friends can give. Because often if you sit down with friends or people you know and you play sort of for fun, people are not that serious. So they talk a lot, and in the way they talk, they give a lot of information. I actually downloaded an ebook about verbal tells in poker, which was or is super interesting. Can't remember the author, but there's a lot of examples how much information you can get from people by just talking with them, like asking, do you have pocket tens or do you have 10-9 on shortened board? Depending what they answer can actually give a lot of information, and the way there's these explanations on the book, it actually makes sense. And if you play live poker, that is, in my mind, one book that is quite useful. Of course, then there's this Mike Carroll's Bible of tells, but those are kind of tells that, yeah, they might be nice if you know the basic principles about live poker tells, you can use them, but the verbal tells is actually pretty nice, and now thinking back, it makes a lot of sense about how people reply. And if I was playing live once a week or more often, I would really like to learn about the verbal tells and non-verbal tells. It's sort of a new area where you can improve yourself. Take it as a challenge. Just like in online poker, you want to become more and more better. And in online, it's just numbers, information. Then when you play live, there's this additional information. Let's see if we can draw for free on the turn. Yes, we can see the turn. King, queen, or 10, please. Oh, not quite. Almost, but one. And you can see in live tournaments, good players, they often talk with reasons, and the idea is that it doesn't matter what you ask or what the opponent replies. That's not the important one. More important is how he replies. We went the queen on the turn. I mean on the river. We can probably get value from aces. Let's try to get small value or some weaker queen. Raise would be really strange. So strange that I would actually call if someone raises. Because it doesn't make sense in any way. Quiet moment. We almost have a 500 BB stack on table 2. That is nice. Oh, I'm going to. He's 42 out of 3, now it's 3 out of 4. So as long as he keeps folding his big blinds, we can just steal with any hand. And now we steal the blinds. Oh, what a myth here. Table 1 is pretty nasty. We have 2 regulars, we have 2 nits, and third regular. So 3 regulars, 2 nits. That's not that profitable. So let's see. I'm going to go to the waiting list and I'm going to get away from this table. Playing with just 5 reps and nits is, due to rate, it's not profitable. We need recreationals on the tables. And let's change it to this one. Not to me is not that tight one anymore. So let's remove his red pin. And here he 3-bets a779, which is kind of funny. Ba-da-da-ba-da-bum. Nothing interesting has happened for a long time. I'm going to 3-bet here on table 3 to isolate Amana. Because it's on a queen high flush draw. I don't want to make a big multi-way pot with queen high flush draw. If it was suited to the ace, then calling is definitely an option to create a big multi-way pot. Here we had another table. Nice. And we get 3 callers. Let's see, if no one bets the turn, then I'm going to bet. And Amana bots it. I'm actually going to call. Because everyone checks, no one has a straight, so he can bluff these with some kind of flush draws or 7-9 type of hands. But I don't think he's going to barrel the river. Unless he has a hand. We can beat him for sure. Half bet. Why half a bet? It's under half. Oh, should have called. I didn't see the timer was so low. I really think there's merit in calling that because the bet sizing was so small. And he is super aggressive on turn and rivers. 6 out of 6, now it's 7 out of 7 rivers. And he has won only 75% of the showdown, so he's not always at the nuts. Damn! Would have called if I just saw the timer. Oh, quads. Calling station. Well, let's hope he has an overpair and try to extract some value. No. No. Ace King Queen seals. For pure hand value, it's a bit weird to 3-bet. But considering how much folding equity we will have on the flop, then it's decent, of course. Not sure if Amana is the right candidate for that 3-bet. But he hasn't raised any flops. So I would assume that if he misses the board, he's just going to fold the flop. So for pure hand value, it's not enough, but if we have folding equity on the flops, then we can 3-bet with the pretty wide ranges. Luckily, we are almost 200 pp's deep with Amana. So let's see if we can make a nice 350 pp pot with him. I'm going to make a note. Note for myself that he might be barreling a lot of turns and rivers, so it's something to keep an eye on. What eights on table 4? He might be a player that plays with pretty much almost all of the hands, and he's not super crazy on the flop, but if he sees weakness on the turn and river, he barrels a lot, because third aggression 73 from 11 out of 15 hands. So he's played 44 hands, and 11 of 15 turns he has been aggressive, betting or raising. And the chance that he have had 11 great hits out of 15 turns with 70% range is just absurd. So he's definitely bluffing a lot of turns and rivers. And that's why the previous call on river should have been made. So that is actually quite a big mistake. Pot would have been 22 euros, so it would have been 17 euros more profit. So most likely, even if he sometimes has the straight, that mistake is over 100 pp mistake, which is huge. Now we just have to wait for hands. We have a sort of quiet moment, not getting any playable hands. Still going to play 15 minutes, and then after 11 we have to end or stop. Oh, our set mining worked. Let's see on level 2 if we can get any value. We do. Turn is pretty blank-ish. and no action. Demo 1, I'm going to open. I assume that Bingo Man is going to crawl 3 quite often, but he folds 75% to c-bets. So we can often steal the pot on the flop. Table 3, 5-handed, double-suited pocket tens. I'm going to open. Table 4, knife cross the flop and turn completes the straight. But it would be a cut shot over wrap, so I barrel the turn. And should have some folding equity versus 2 pairs flush draws. Ace, XXX. And river is just making it even worse. So now if he has any, if we had even 110 in our hand, it would be better to barrel the river. But the thing that he waits for so long means that he has probably something, and that is such a strange bet. Just going to fold. Not sure if it was a blocker bet or something, but so strange. If he makes that bet with missed flush draw when we bet flop, bet turn, that would be strange. Oh, I broke my chip. Nothing happens. And here on table 4, another great, it's not a premium hand, but it has potential. Ace queen jack when it's suited to the ace. The only one who's probably going to 3-bet is Quasimodo, aggressive Finnish player. But when there's a call, not call, when there's a caller, I don't think he's going to 3-bet with super wide range, so we can see the flop. And not to me 3-bets, which was unexpected. And now he 4-bets. Wow, this is crazy. proper have to have some kind of reach when he actually bets his kings there, raises pre-flop. If he has a really accurate reach about not to miss ranges, then it might be fun, but other than that, I'm not a fan of that. He was even underdog on pre-flop versus the rundown. Table 3, we have the nuts on the river. Sure why he takes so long. We have around 2-minute delay, or 2.5 minutes for security reason. So unless you use the time bank on flop turn and rivers, you shouldn't be able to see the river. So every time when someone is actually taking a lot of time versus me, then I'm a bit aware that there might be a chance of using the stream. But let's see if he keeps doing that more. Fred is asking what is the highest limit I'm playing. Well, I played PL50 as rep, and then some at PL100. But in PL50 I had a nice win rate. It was around 8 BPs, 100 or some, and then oh crap. I'm going to check the turn because we have everything on this board, so it's impossible to pop and sat out here with the flush draw and cut shot. Because here on table 4 we have every card, so the only way to get value is to get some bluffs or a call from ace, and he's not calling 3 streets with just an ace. So let's try to get some value on the river. No, we don't. Boys are making a big pot here. Set and flush draw versus flush draw and not straight. We got lucky that I timed out. So at PL50 I had a nice win rate. Then somewhere 3 years ago I had a bit of downswing at the end of the year, and then I focused more on my studies, and then I met my fiance or girlfriend, what you want to call it. So I didn't actually have a lot of time for playing, and actually haven't had since that. So I haven't played PL50 after that. I'm here, Amana opens and makes a really small c-bet on the flop, really small c-bet on the turn, strange bet sizing, and just have to call here. And oh, he had a queen 7, so he had a 7 and made it in the end. So small bet, weak hand. Level 2, I'm just calling. Real player, we can probably make him fold, but we have the calling station here. And now he bets, if he bets with some crappy hand, we have a cut shot and overs. Wow. No reason to bluff the flop because we have a huge polling station here who's probably not folding if he has any piece of the board. On the outside table, this Quasimodo, wow. He bet so strange that I'm not sure what happened there. We open it on the it was so strange. Super strange hand. Right, here it is. Quasimodo aggressive finish is the MP. So he didn't calls preflop, and on this board he check calls monotone flop. On the turn he suddenly donks for a pot, and the opponent calls. And on the river he bets half a pot, opponent calls, and he has 8-9-3-8. So he check calls the flop with total air. And what? I just don't get it. And then on the turn he donks for a pot with just a cut shot on monotone flop. Doesn't, oh my god. He has to be drunk. I'm gonna make a note of that. That was so weird. So probably drunk player just pressing buttons, but making a lot of money. And here Amana is betting again. Now on this turn, we can, if he bets biggish, we can shove. Of course, 5-6 not there, but we have 2 pair flush draw and cut shot, so even against 5-6 we have decent shape. And I'm just going to shove it. He has tapped off with pretty weak hands. So I would assume that he's going to step off with any flush draw. Of course, 10 would have been better. He doesn't complete the straight. But given the fact that he stepped off lightly, I'm happy to shove there. Oops, min raise. Mouse didn't work. And we said 3-bet, call, and let's see the flop, and we almost hit the nuts. But it's just a gut shot. And they need the donks for half a pot. And it's over 11, so the end is coming. Let's play some couple of last orbits and then see where do we end. I assume we made a small profit, but nothing really happened for the last half an hour or so. Except we folded over 100 BP mistake. That's why it's so hard to make profit in poker, because if that fold with top 2 versus the barreling guy is a mana, if the mistake was 100 BPs and our win rate is 10 BPs per 100 hands, which means that overall we are playing pretty good poker. To make up that mistake, we have to play 1,000 hands. And 4 day win, that would be around 4 hours. So to make up that one small mistake that we timed out, we have to play another 4 hours to make it up, to keep up with our win rate. And that's why it's so hard to make money in poker, because you might play 3 hours with your best 8 game, and then for 5 minutes you make 2 mistakes when you're tired and you wipe away all of your winnings. I'm going to raise here. He donks so much, and that small bet sizing. He has a lot of draws and weakish hand. We might win the pot right away, or we can go to the river. And here I'm isolating the razor. And now, if the river wasn't the clubs, I'm going to raise him, because the bet sizing is so small, and if he calls with the straight, then be it. Oh, he had an 8 high flush. But we can easily have a flush there. So it makes sense that he had an 8 high flush, but oh, here we have the, oh, do we have the nuts? No, but we have the wraps, so we are going to stack off. And he has just a jack. Wow. We had a nice equity there on the turn. %33 still. 63 on the flop. Yeah, he had just an open ender. shame. I'm going to make a note. That the small bet sizing might be a weak hand. So there, if we have a higher flush, we can raise for value when he bets small, if that is the case. On the outside table, I'm going to put it here. We 3-bet aces, we had 3 callers, and we flop, not flush draw and cut shot, so definitely we get it in. And we are versus 2 pairs, we suck out, and he makes a full house. So we didn't win anything. 57 on the flop, 90% on the turn. I'm going to check here. Really hard to get 3 streets of value. Often we get 1 street from bluff catchers if we have the best hand. So I'm going to check, but now, oh, now I'm going to get away. There's a bet and a call. King high flush and didn't see bet. Wow. People are making really strange plays. So I'm not sure about our winning session anymore, because now we lost a couple of buy-ins in the end. And we lost a couple in the beginning, and we made a couple more in the middle, so might be quite close. Let's see if we can make something happen with the aces. And then we have to sit out and close the session. Well, here actually we make a top set in a big 4-way pot, and we probably get the money in versus aces. Let's see if we can hold or not. Ace, ace, 3, 3. And we do hold up, which is nice. So we double up there. And we sit out right after that. Well, now I'm not sure what is the end here, because here we have a lot of hands that I played earlier. So let's see if by session. Well, there it is. Nice. I'm going to show it to you in a while. And put the graph. Don't know how to do it. But at least I know the results. Top pair and cut shot. Let's see if we can go to the turn. Don't want to see bet this one. Let's see the turn. Turn is decent. If no one bets, we should have the best hand quite often. But it's one of those situations that you can level yourself so bad. Like, if I bet, it really looks like the hand I have, so someone might check raise me as a bluff, but I would assume that if neither one of them have a straight, they are going to bet the turn themselves because there's a flush draw open. So to go for check raise after flop is checked is a bit strange. And on the river, I'm going to check back. And he had the set. Oh, he would never fold the set there, and he shouldn't. So set is one of the hands we absolutely lose to. So here are the results. From sessions, because I played same PL then in the morning, so I cannot show all the results just for today. So we use the session, and this is the latest session starting 9:34, and the result is 22-29 winnings, all in adjusted 5.8. So even all in adjusted $5, but it's 10 BPs per 100 hand, which is nice win rate. But we run hard and made 40 BPs per 100 hand. So winning session, which is nice. And that's about it. We were supposed to check some equities on the really early hands. Let's see, was it here? Ace 5 for you here. Ace 5-4, so we had 33% equity, which is pretty much what I expected us to have versus that 6. And if he has any flush draws, it's going to be even more in his range. So it was a nice stack of. Let's see, what was the other hand? Was it this one? Oh yeah, he had 2 pairs and a flush draw here. And he bet half a pot, so we need 25% equity. We have 30, so that was a good step of 2. All right, thank you everyone about this Friday's PLO evening. Next week it's going to be finished, and I hope we will have a dancer who's going to dance every time I win a pot. It's going to be a lot of dancing. So please join next Friday. And thanks Ambition and Fred the Crusher for commenting during the discussion. That was nice. And I see you on the forums and in the chat. And meanwhile, have a nice weekend. Those of you who are celebrating Easter, have fun with it. Now let's see the cat video and start our weekends.